Hello, and welcome to Intention Ascension. So, today's episode is going to be slightly fly off the handle, which is perfect because we have had a cluster of just random stuff happening. So, here's the number one thing. Today, we're talking about fear and victimization and how we step into our power by facing our fears. So, the very first thing that we need to do is recognize when we are using our trauma as an excuse to stay safe and stay comfortable. And I will say this over and over and over again. I can't means I won't. And when we throw out those words, there's usually fear attached to that. And then our fear is attached to our childhood trauma. So we need to dig in deeper because it is time for us to start doing what it is that we really want to do, diving into our passions. I'm done with this 9 to 5. We can't do this anymore. We're out here making other people's dreams come true, and we are slowly dying inside because of it. Unless you are truly, truly, truly happy at your 9 to 5, then I suggest looking into how you're going to start your own business. But we can't do any of that until we understand why we haven't done it yet. Why are we over here making other people's dreams come true when we all hold the power ourselves? What fears are stopping us from pushing forward? So when we feel fear, we are challenged to welcome it. I know for me personally that when I feel fear, it is something that I know that I need to dive into. And for example, today, I didn't even know if I was going to start recording this podcast episode because I had all of these excuses. I just got off work. It's already late. It's dark outside. The lighting's not going to be good. What if I look tired? Like, who cares? Who cares? We just have to step out and we have to step into facing our fears. And it's extremely uncomfortable. We have a physical response. Our heart may start racing when we're put in a position where we have to challenge the things that we would normally try to dodge. When we go into these moments, we will start sweating, our heart starts palpitating, maybe your throat closes up. If you're aware of it, maybe you have a knot in your stomach for days or weeks prior to whatever it is that you're going to step into. And that's where we're given the opportunity to investigate. We're given the opportunity to investigate into ourselves and understand what it is that we feel we cannot face. What is so debilitating that instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do this, that we completely back out of it because all of our fears will eventually unlock our destiny. When we go into identifying what it is that we are so afraid of, it's typically linked to something from our childhood. When we look at our school systems and we look at our childhood, our parents, and the things that we were afraid of, we have very key memories. And those key memories are going to help us understand what belief systems we have to unwire. So when we look at our childhood um, and say, let's say the school system, we're thrown into the system. We have one teacher, typically 25 to 30 other students in the class, all coming from different backgrounds. We're given 6, 7 subjects, and those are the subjects that we're supposed to be good at. And if we're not, then we're not smart. We're not good enough. So from a very young age, we're already trained that we are to fit into these certain categories. And if we don't, then we're unworthy. And with all of these other children coming from different backgrounds, and it's a popularity contest. And then we go into college. And then in college, we're supposed to know what we want to do for the rest of our lives, but we have all of these memories and we've had embarrassing moments and we've had no actual coping skills to deal with it. And just one adult in the room supervising 98% of the time what's going on. So we're left to fend for ourselves. We go to college and we're supposed to pick our career. We're supposed to know what it is that we want to do. And we never even got the opportunity to try this out. We just saw something. We never saw the behind the scenes of it. We saw something and said, oh, that looks like fun, or that sounds like a really good idea. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And if you check off the boxes as you're supposed to, while you're in college or shortly after, you're to meet the one. And now you're combining your debt and you don't even know yourself. You may not be happy with the degree that you've chosen, but going back to school seems impossible because you're starting a family or trying to buy a house, or maybe you've invested so much time into your career already, the blood, sweat, and tears, and you're not happy. You're miserable. And so, and when we go back into these key memories and these, I call them the key memories of what we remember from our childhood, because in our childhood, we are mostly in theta. And in theta, we are in hypnosis. So those key memories that we have are linked to something that impacted us so deeply that we have not forgotten about that moment, about that embarrassing time that you had to get up in front of the class, or if you had to do the popcorn reading, and instead of following along with the reading, you're counting how many paragraphs until it's your turn so you can practice reading it. You're not even listening to what this is even about because you're worried that you might mess up and then everyone's going to make fun of you. They're going to be talking about you all day. If you weren't in a family that bounced around and you stayed in your school district for elementary and middle school and high school, and other children also did too, some of these things that we're supposed to power through and work through never get forgotten by many. And that is traumatizing in and of itself. So in our adult life, when we go back and we focus on these key memories that we have, and if you haven't done that, now that you're listening, you'll be aware. And I promise you that those memories are going to come like flashbacks. They're going to surface. Somebody's going to say something and it's going to remind you of something that happened, because now we're aware that we need to go back and we need to figure out what these key memories are and figure out where they're linked, because it's an association to our shame and our fear, our anxieties, and the things that stop us from fully becoming who we are meant to become. So we can break free of all of this craziness and all of this unhappiness and depression and anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder. With fear, if we allow it to debilitate us, it will keep us trapped. So in order to dive into those, like I said, we start with those key memories and try to figure out what emotions were attached and where did that stem from. We have to look at our parents. What were they like? What did they teach us? What were our grandparents like, if you have the ability to do that? And when we start to track those behaviors, then we can start to resolve some of the trauma that we receive from our parents, because we can understand a little bit more about them, how they were affected, and how they passed their trauma down to us. And when we start to unravel this, and it sounds a lot easier than it is, it takes time. There is no magic pill. There is no, you're going to attend this one class, or you're going to maybe check yourself into a residential treatment center and go through a 30, 45, 60-day program and you're going to have all the answers. No, but we absolutely live in a society where we don't have time to just sit and meditate. We have to make that time. And when we do that, things get brought to us. So that is one thing that I'm challenging you to do, is to set aside 10 minutes every day, minimum 10 minutes, to be able to sit in meditation and ask the universe to bring you guidance and bring you the people that are going to help remind you of these things, or you will face situations that are painful. And we have to remember that when we go through these situations, there is going to be an outcome. It doesn't mean it's going to be a solution, but it will be progress, because now we are fully aware. So when we start to do that work and we start to understand where our anxieties are coming from with the fear that's attached, or the anxiety that's attached to the fear, then we are able to start to work through, because the only way out is through. That's point blank, period. The only way out is through. And we have to sit with ourselves and we have to go backwards. We have to look at the things that have impacted our lives so deeply that they debilitate us in our adulthood from moving forward and fully stepping into our power, because we feel unworthy. We feel incapable. We don't feel like we're strong enough. And often those things are what lead us into our destiny. And fear never goes away. Fear is always going to be there. The more that we expand ourselves, the more that we step into the unknown and we conquer the fear, because the only way to conquer the fear is by actually doing it, getting out there and doing it. And the more that we get out there and we do it, the bigger our world becomes, the more opportunities that come to us, the more doors that open. So when we look at fear, it's a natural response. And in this day and age, we have fear of a lot of things. We have fear of things that are unnecessary to have, because we're operating from the outside and not from the inside. And that is where it's also important to look at your chakras. And I will be doing an episode on chakras and meditation, our subconscious mind, how we rewire everything. You know, they say that we only use 10% of our brains. And I had crossed a study that really changed the way that I thought about everything. And I dove into neuropsychology and neuroscience, and I have looked at a lot of different things to get to where I am today. And that's why it's so important for me to get this out. But when we look at that other 90%, it's in our subconscious. And this is why the subliminal messages are so important. Getting our chakras into alignment, understanding what each chakra represents. So that way we can start looking at the things that we need to work on, such as our sacral chakra is linked to our self-confidence and our self-worth. And so when we want to work on things like public speaking, we're not going to work on our throat chakra. And that was confusing. Well, it wasn't confusing, but it caught me off guard when I learned that, because your power comes from your sacral, your confidence comes from your sacral, and your throat just becomes the portal that moves your message out. But we have to feel worthy of sharing our message. So we have to step out of this victim role. We have to step out of I can't, because I can't means I won't. And if you won't, then you never will. We either evolve or repeat. That's it. We either evolve or we repeat. So get out there and do the things that you are uncomfortable with doing. And start with looking at those key memories. Those key memories are going to be what helps you to work through your anxiety and your fear so you can step into your power. I always look at it like the process of evolving is kind of like a hose with a bunch of holes in it, right? and you go through one thing, you step out and you step into your power and you face a fear that you never thought you could. And it's like, okay, boom, patch. And then you're faced with another situation, you're around another group of people, and it comes back out, but in a completely different situation. Different faces, different places, same bottom line. We have to continuously be tested when we are overcoming our fears because the universe is saying, do you really want this? You did it once. You can do it again. You can do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. But the key is that you have to keep doing it. You have to keep pushing forward. You have to keep going. So that way you can continue to expand. But the fear itself never goes away. And when we're able to identify our body's reactions to fears, we can start to gain control over them. So that is all I'm dishing out for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and I will be back soon. I love you.